Tonight's guest,
Black Pedro,
with your hosts, Kutz and Ezane.
Yo, what's up, Ezane, man? How you doing, man?
How you doing, bro?
Man, how was your week?
It was great, man. How was yours? Yeah.
Man, it was wonderful, man.
What's up, bro? How you doing? Chilling.
Static electricity, man.
Yes, sir.
What's that shirt you got on, brother?
You know, we got the Osiders brand.
Osiders.
Shout out to the homie, Quick Shot,
Quick Shot.
Oceanside on the map, you already know.
What's up?
Yeah,
You already know, man. Before we get into the show, we definitely got to send a shout out to our sponsors. Dr. Bronner All-in-One Soaps, Toothpaste, all that. We're going to hook our guests is up with all this we're about to shout out.
Yes, sir.
We got What's So Funny masks.
You already know.
Subscribe. You definitely get one of these joints right here. Shout out to Eargasm earplugs.
Yes,
noise canceling earplugs. We're definitely going to shoot them out to our guests today. Ezane, who do we got in studio via Zoom today?
Man, tonight it's a very special night, man. We got... man, we had him before at our show. Was it?
Indian Joe's.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He came with Shang, so you know what I'm saying.
That's what's up.
So you already know,
Shang.
man. You already know the vibes, Mr. Black Pedro.
Mr. Black Pedro, what's up, man?
Thank you for welcoming to y'all dojo, guys. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are three senseis that I respect, so I appreciate y'all having me here, man, for sure.
That's what's up, bro. It's all good, man. How you holding up during, all this Corona stuff?
Bro, as you can see, I'm currently trapped in a Jordan Peele movie where I go to heaven and all the people are white and I'm just the only one there. And it's like, it's called For Heaven's Sake. It's coming out this fall.
Don't worry, brother. We're coming to free you.
I got the background from the last show I did, which was for a Joe Biden campaign fundraiser. So sorry about that. But other than that, man, we living in weird times, but as comedians, we're trying to get it in wherever we can. You mentioned Shang. That is my big homie, my big brother in this industry. I featured for him on the road about 15 years ago. He was like, "Bro, come on the road with me," and we've been getting it in ever since, man. And Mondays through Fridays on IG Live during the times of COVID, we do Savage AF, our podcast. Wow. And if you missed the IG Live, we're on Monday through Friday, Mondays and Fridays, 3 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, 6 p.m. And if you missed that, you can catch us wherever you get your podcasts on all platforms. I think we're also at your local gas station and the liquor store. And then if you don't do podcasts and you want to see us, we're on YouTube. And you can look up Savage AF World, and that's where we're on YouTube. So you can catch the videos there.
So tell us a little bit about Savage AF. What is the whole makeup of the show to people that haven't seen it?
Before I do, I need to shout out your sponsors. Your sponsor too that you shouted out, Dr. Bronner.
Yes.
Bro, I used like their spearmint soap or whatever one time.
Peppermint soap?
Bro, the peppermint joint?
Yeah.
I washed my nuts and for the whole day, it felt like a hooker was tickling my nuts. I was like, thank you, Dr. Bronner. I appreciate this. I hope Dr. Bronner's a woman, but it feels good. You know what I'm saying? But on Savage AF, what we do, besides having our nuts tingled by Dr. Bronner, is we talk politics, social issues. I literally jumped from our live right to this tonight because we waited for the debate to end. And we talk shit about that. We talk a lot of shit about Trumpty Dumpty, impeached president of the United States. And we just go hard on social issues, current events, politics. But we're two brothers that are from different streets. He's from New York. I grew up on the east side of Detroit. But we stay educated and up on these politics and these social issues. And then we try and spit that knowledge to our people in our community so that we know how to operate in this society that isn't for us, but it doesn't mean we don't belong here. You know what I'm saying? So we just need to know how to operate within this system. So we just trying to spread that knowledge as best we can, man. So that's what we do. And our main slogan on the show is "fuck your feelings." So if we ever say anything,
that's the wrong place for you.
So Black Pedro, how you come up with that name, man? Black Pedro.
Bro, it's a long story. You might want to get a pen and paper. I'm black, and my name is Pedro.
Oh, word?
Long story short.
Easy
So,
money.
That was
my full name is Pedro Delfino Hernandez, right? But I got an old ass tattoo of Trinidad on my shoulder here, right? That's where my mother's side of the family's from. That's where the Hernandez comes from.
Oh, okay.
It's not a Spanish speaking island at this point. So I have a full Spanish name, but my family don't speak Spanish. But like Latinos get really pissed at me, and you know, I just have to explain to them that like when I was born, I just got a name, and it didn't come with instructions.
Right.
And if it did, they were in Spanish, and I couldn't read them motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? So like that, you know, I'm doing the best I can as a Negro named Pedro who doesn't play baseball. You know what I'm saying? To just get a paycheck in this world. That's all we trying to do. But literally one day on stage, because I make fun of my name, you know. And, you know, usually I ask the crowd like, hey, y'all, what's going on? And I'm not expecting a response. I know they're going to look at me like whatever. And I used to be like, okay, y'all look at me like you tell us, Pedro. And one time I was at the Irvine Improv. And I was like, oh, y'all looking at me like you tell us, Black Pedro. It just came out. I don't know if I was drinking or whatever. But the response, while that punchline always got a laugh, that response was so much greater when I said Black Pedro. And I realized that, like, while I wasn't a fan of stage names, we are in an age of branding. And so Black Pedro is a better brand for me than Pedro Hernandez. Because you hear Pedro Hernandez, you expect a whole other thing that I'm not about to give you. So I'm trying to be honest with you motherfuckers when I tell you I'm Black Pedro, okay? From the east side of Detroit. I don't speak no Spanish. I'm down for all my peoples, black, brown, and
Is it
everything.
East Detroit? East Detroit?
East side, the east side of Detroit. Yeah, we go east side, west side, rather than north or south. Or
Right.
like
So how was it like growing up there and your upcoming and stuff?
You know, it was for me it was beautiful actually. You know, while I actually caught, you know, a little bit of hell for being named, I was the only nigga named Pedro. Like I went to the largest high school in Detroit. I went to the same high school as Big Sean, way before him. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we the largest high school in the city.
High school is that?
Detroit Cass Tech, homie. You know what it is. Green and white, baby. That's what we do. Detroit Cass Tech. And check that Detroit 2 right now. That Big Sean, so heavy. But I'm sorry. I digress. But you know, it's Detroit, especially when I grew up there, 80s. I was born in 77, 80s, 90s. I grew up there. It was the blackest city in America. No lie. It was 94% black when I grew up there. So, and then I went to a really white ass college once I graduated high school. So when I got to that place, you weren't able to tell me anything about black people because nobody knew more about black people than me. I went to school with children of crackheads and children of chiropractors. You know what I'm saying? Like MDs and motherfucking drug dealers as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I know you can't tell me about black people because Detroit was a city back then that represented all of that for sure. The good and the bad, for whatever you want to take it. But I know that we can always be whatever we want to be. So I appreciate Detroit. My upbringing was average, I would say. I was a middle of the road kid. I stood out because of my name. But other than that, you know, I played football, ran track. You know, I could get in with everybody. So I had a lot of different circles. I played music. So I had a lot of circles of friends, a lot of different people I mixed with. And I think I had one of the most well-rounded upbringings you could ever have as a black person, to be honest. Growing up in an all-black city, you know, I realized we could be whatever we wanted to be. So that's why I always loved Detroit. And I haven't lived there fully for 21 years, dog. But like, it's my crib, it's my home. You know what I mean? And I can go back. I can go back always and be locally recognized, and that's all I need.
That's right.
So when did you, at what age did you find it funny, man? When you find out, like, man, this is what I want to do. This is like crap.
So So I graduated from Detroit Cass Tech, Detroit's largest high school, and by basically the will of my mother, I went to Princeton University.
Wow.
And I got a my freshman year, and shout out to Jackie Bruce, my homegirl. But one day, my freshman year, we were sitting at lunch at the black table in the dining hall, and we cracking jokes. I used to keep the table laughing, and she was just like, "You should do stand-up comedy at this talent show I'm putting on." And I was like, "Okay." I didn't really think about it or whatever, but I was scraping my plate after that meal, and I was like, "What did I say I was gonna do?" But I went back to my room and put a little routine together, and I told my first joke, and I got that wave of laughter, man. And I was like, "Yo, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life." Like, I might be at this university where niggas become doctors and lawyers and businessmen, but I'm here to be a comedian. And I kept doing it after that. I never went up to New York, even though I was really close, because it's fucking Princeton, dog. Had a lot of shit to read. But on campus, I did a lot of shows. I was part of a comedy troupe, and I just kind of built the skills up there so that when I got to LA in 1999, I was able to get on stage and do time, like 5, 7, 10 minutes. I mean? Like, I had it already. But I to answer the question fully, I found it in college. And I just kept going from there, man. And if you ever hear a calling, if the phone ever rings and your soul answers it, just take the call. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? That's what your life should be about.
So what did you major in when you went to Princeton?
Architecture and urban planning. Yeah. And which takes up a lot of time. Like I once had to stay awake for 80 hours straight to finish this presentation, dog. And not because I was procrastinating, which I usually did, but they only gave us about 4 days to do it. And I just stayed awake though. So like it was a discipline, a whole thing that you had to do, man. And I'm it's part of building my character,
That's what's up.
Yeah, man. So I heard that you grew up listening to Slum Village and Eminem, and you just told me that you play music. So what kind of music do you make, or do you still play?
So I won't say that I make music nowadays. I grew up on some nerd shit. Nerd alert. My mother had me playing classical violin, then classical bass. But eventually I found my way to percussion. So I was a percussionist, a drummer, for the latter years of my life until college. I basically stopped playing music in college. But, Detroit has such a rich history of music, and like, so we got Motown. Well, first of all, before that, jazz, right? Detroit is a big jazz city, and that's one of my favorite teacher. Rest in peace to Mr. Taylor. This is a black man that I saw pick up any instrument: flute, recorder, violin, viola, harpsichord, piano, drums. He could play anything, right? Black man. He used to play flute for Miles Davis back in the day, right? So Detroit has this rich jazz history. Which I was able to soak up at a young age. Then I was in the Detroit Symphony Civic Orchestra, which is like the pre-professional group to the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. So I played a lot of classical music in high school. And then we have hip hop, right? And then we have somebody like who around my age, as I'm coming out of high school and whatnot, you got Slum Village and Jay Dilla. And what I'm gonna say is that maybe it was 07, early 08, but I went to New York to visit some friends. They stay in Brooklyn, and they're like, "Oh, they throw a Jay Dilla party every year in Brooklyn for his birthday." And I was just like, "Yo, this is hip hop. Detroit is forever a part of hip hop because if Brooklyn every year is throwing a birthday party for this East Side Detroit cat." Right. He was doing it from the basement. then we in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? So like, and so I Eminem's in my top 3 MCs, right? Like, but he's not Detroit hip hop. Detroit hip hop is Jay Dilla. Detroit hip hop is Slum Village. Detroit hip hop is the jazz that came before that, and the Motown that came before that too. The Temptations is like a soundtrack to my life, bro. Like that's, you know, so I don't make music anymore, but music makes me still to this day. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it was always part of my growing up. So that's how music plays in my shit.
Free game.
I mean,
I'm not writing none of this down though. Write it down.
somebody in the background, bro. They taking
notes. You already know.
They tagging the walls, everything. But no, but that's good though, because I mean, even though you had a calling to be a comedian, on the flip side, you got something to fall back on.
100.
Oh shit, I'm going to design this building, put us all in the building. You know what I mean? I mean, man, that's a blessing though, man. Shout out to you, all your education, everything, you know, you've done, you know, just far to get to where you're at. So, but I heard you've been on some like comedy specials. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, I've done some work on TV. I think my biggest break back in the day was on a BET show called Hell Date.
Okay, I remember Hell Date.
Yeah, and you know, it was a prank show where we would go on and we play. You know, people would think they were on a blind dating show,
Right.
looking for love on TV. Okay, that's your first mistake. But we would play characters just to fuck with their heads. So, you know, that was a really fun gig, and it brought me some good recognition where I'd be walking through New York in Times Square and people be like, Pedro, and it's like, whoa, you know, you didn't really realize how that would slap like that. And then, you know, I've been fortunate enough to book quite a few national commercials, McDonald's, Nike, Home Depot, stuff like that, Honda. So we get in work like that, man. But I'm still working. I think the pinnacle of stand-up comedy is getting that hour special.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's something I'm still working towards. My goal this year was to produce my own half-hour audio comedy album. You know, baby steps, right? Start small. But then everything shut down, and but as soon as I can, that's the next move, man. But you know, we've done some work on TV, and there's more to do. That's all there is to it. Because once you're done with one gig, it's on to the next, man.
As soon as Hollywood opens back up, you know what I mean? They just like everyone's hibernating.
Well, you know, and what we doing right now though is we trying to create our own Hollywood at this point, right? Because it's not there. And I appreciate you brothers for doing that. You know what I'm saying? For being in a place and providing a space for us to talk and communicate. But right now we're in a place where we could, if we all work hard enough, you know, supplant Hollywood, like, you know, work around that, you know, because, you know, just you know, skirt right around them, you know what I mean? Like that. So let's all keep working towards that so we can get our money on our own and not be beholden to them necessarily. That's the beauty of this pandemic for me is like all the opportunities to create a new space.
Wow.
You know, when you look at D Nice with Club Quarantine, like this brother had me. I basically, once LA shut down, I went to Vegas where my mother lives to take care of her. I thought I was gonna be there like a week or two. I lived with my mama for 3 months this year. You know what I'm saying? Still paying rent in LA, but me and mom just drinking wine every day, and I'm dancing to Club Quarantine in the crib, like, hey ma, you gotta hear this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like with the headphones on, right? So there's so many opportunities to create new spaces within this time, even though it's a clusterfuck and a lot of uncertainty and scary stuff going on. It's still a time to be brave and pioneer too. You know what I'm saying? So we trying to do all of that right now.
I just want to ask real quick, what was it like when, like, you know what I mean? Obviously coming up in the comedian game, it's not easy, right? So like, what was it like when you first knew, like, wow? What moment was it when you was like, wow, we really on? Like, you know what I mean? Did you have like a moment where you just like, wow, I know we
broke
really
that
on.
barrier from being an amateur comic to being this, you know, in line with the majors, you know.
Yeah, it's funny because it was actually a heartbreaking moment at the same time, but I needed to I had to maintain the proper perspective in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we're always in control of our own energy and our own perspective, right? So I was working with one of my idols, Damon Wayans. I'm not afraid to say names or call cats out, right? But this was the fourth time I was working with him, and we were at the Irvine Improv. But I had hosted for him every time before that, the previous 3 times, at other clubs like the Ontario Improv, Brea Improv, you know, blah blah blah. So this time the Improv, the club, not Damon, and he hadn't hired me before either. The club had always hired me. I'm in with the Improv. This is the first time they hired me to feature, which, for those who don't know, they're like, when you do a professional like road style show, it's usually just 3 comedians, a host, a featured act, and then your headliner, the reason you're there, right? And host does about 10 minutes, feature does about 20, 25, headliner does an hour, right? That's typically what you're gonna get, you know, about an hour and a half show. Damon, like I said, this is the first time I was in the middle. I wasn't the opening act. There was no buffer between me and Damon. And I've never said, I've told this story on many different platforms, so it's already out there. So I have no qualms about it. I've never said that I'm better than him or anything. But that night, and this is a true thing in comedy, that night he couldn't follow me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was struggling that weekend, but this was a Saturday night, and it was just one of them things, like, no matter what I was saying, I was crushing. I could have blew my nose on stage. I could have shat my pants. They would have been like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. You know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those things. I had love from the crowd, right? Yeah. And after my first set that night, the manager of the club, and when I tell you, Damon never said a word to me or looked me in the eye man to man, but the manager of the club came to me with an envelope for half the pay, because I wasn't finishing out the run, and he was like, yeah, Damon wants another feature. And I was crushed, because I needed that money to pay rent and my phone bill that weekend. You know what I'm saying? Wow. But I walked out like, I'm that nigga now. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow. It's not to mean that I'm so much better than anybody, but that night I proved I'm a hard act to follow. You know what I'm saying?
And it's crazy because in a comedy thing, you know, a lot of people think, or even in acting, whatever, you get on stage, even in music, you can be like, we can't hey, I can't follow this dude, we gotta get rid of him. And a lot of times you think like, dude, you got rid of him because he was bad? No, you got rid of him because he was too goddamn good. Like, I've been on like tours where the artist was like, oh yeah, just bring him in and let him open up. He's like, damn, bro, you gotta get rid of him, bro. Like, he hard to follow, bro. You can't get on this.
Oh, to any artist that ever goes through that, you just take that as a compliment to your strengths, rather than, you know, some kind of indictment against your skills. You know what I mean? Like, if they can't follow you, then be the headliner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, I mean, when you came down to do the show at Indian Joe's, you and Shang, I seen your work ethics. When you asked me, so you busted it, came up, you was like, oh, yo, where's the stage at? Like, I'm like, damn, where the stage at? I'm like, damn, I love this guy. I always remembered that. You just like came through, what? Oh, okay. Oh, we on? Where the stage at? That's right. I was like, man, I'm like,
if I remember correctly, I walked into that show and they were calling my name. Yeah. And I was boom. Just came through the curtains like, what's up?
Yeah, pretty much. You was right. You guys came in like it's from up there, bro. Like, you guys came in right on the spot.
Yeah. And that was a great show, great crowd. But that's just part of the gig, you know what I mean? Show up, be ready, you know what I mean? Like, you know. That's my motto in life, is show up and be myself. I live by those words, you know, like, get there first, bro. Get there, and then get there, just stay true to yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's some real wisdom right there,
Real
man.
wisdom, man. But we got to get to this today's date, man. What's up with the whole debate, you know, the politic thing, man? What's up with that? We'll speak about a little bit on that. You know, I mean, it's crazy right now. I don't like the way that they really, you know, they come in at Ice Cube. I get Ice Cube angle. You know, people are like, oh, he's a little too shallow. He should have been, you know, it should have been someone else. But my whole take is, how many times have you guys seen it where they're like, oh, look at that, look at these artists. All they do is sit back, they don't do nothing, they don't do nothing. Now this guy steps up for everybody.
Right.
And it was like, wow, dude, what are you doing?
And now it's a problem.
And how can you, why can't you go, if you're gonna negotiate with the enemy, shit, and he invite you, I'm gonna go sit down with you.
For sure.
I'm gonna sit down with you. Shit, you're the enemy. This the guy I'm battling, and you're gonna invite me to sit down at your table. I'm gonna come sit down with you. But then they get mad at him.
So no, and I'm glad you brought this up because it is an important issue right now, and I think especially not just black people but black men, right, are a little bit. Some of us are a little twisted in this world right now, where it's like we're totally not. We don't feel validated by this system, right? Justifiably.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things I agree with Ice Cube with when he was talking is like, no, neither side has done a good job for us. Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and argue that at any point. My problem though with Cube, and I did have a problem with it, was that he has too much influence to just be thinking out loud like that.
Right.
Like I need him to fully work out the whole idea, and he has the CWBA, the contract with Black America, right? Totally thought out, totally, a clear, thought out plan for Black America. Whether it works, whether it gets implemented, blah blah blah. But that is a solid way to go. But at this point, a couple weeks before this election, I thought it was detrimental to the community for him to ponder about who to deal with, right? Because one thing he was like is like, well, we trying to deal with who's in power. Well, right now we're trying to decide who's in power. So maybe get in on that game first, right? And then also I feel like you got to know the devil you're dealing with. So while we talk about these being the lesser of two evils, but let's really talk about that, right? If we're gonna say they two evils and one is lesser, why would you not want to deal with the lesser evil, right? I also think about the timing of this all, right? Not just Cube coming out with it, but the timing of the Platinum Plan, right? Which sounds like a Jay-Z album, but it's actually Trumpty Dumpty's, it's actually Trumpty Dumpty's fucking plan for Black America to infuse $500 billion to build up Black businesses. But I ain't heard shit about this until 3 3/4 into your presidency, when you absolutely need Black votes. And listen, he's already paraded Black preachers, Kanye West and Kanye West, I'm sorry, and Steve Harvey, right? So he's paraded those monkey-minded motherfuckers in front of us, and acting like they were gonna do something for us. And I honestly, I was disappointed that Cube. I feel he fell for a dangling carrot, because it's like Trump didn't put money on the table.
Right.
He threw an idea out there. He was that's Haitian voodoo smoke. You know what I'm saying? You can wake up in the morning like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a real proposal. And I think you got to understand the man you're dealing with. Yes, he answered your call. He said, come to the table. But you got to understand, he is the one in power now. He needs your vote so fucking badly. He's going to say anything to you. And that's how I really feel about that situation. It's like, we obviously need somebody to speak money towards us and something real towards our situation. But bruh, you really think Jonathan Trump is about to put money on the table for you to really build up black people, while also telling the Proud Boys to stand by and stand back, right? While not being able to tell us that, you know, white supremacists are bad people, right? Like, he can't do that stuff, but he's about us, bruh. I can't swallow that pill.
Man, that's the word, man. Thanks for having me back, Pedro, man. It's been a pleasure, my brother. We got to get out of here. Ezane, your social media.
Yeah, man. I just want to ask you for your social media.
So thank you all for having me, man. First of all, I truly appreciate that, man. Much love, and as soon as we start getting guests on Savage AF, I'd love to, you know, reciprocate. So let's make sure we do that. That being said, follow me on IG at Black Pedro. Follow my co-host at Comedian Shang. But most importantly, follow the show. And on IG, we're at Savage AF Radio. So we broadcast live from that platform, that account, as well as Shang's. And then, yeah, follow us on YouTube, Savage AF World, and then Savage AF wherever you get your podcasts on all platforms, man. Appreciate y'all.